I'm a big fan of those videos where people go out into the woods and just kind of speak their mind. So this is gonna be my attempt at that. Being the funny friend sucks. It really does. Now, there's different kinds of funny. There's airhead funny, there's quirky funny. I'm talking more about specifically joke funny, like intentionally I'm trying to make you laugh funny because that's just my experience, but I guess this could apply to a lot of different people. Number one, nobody checks in on the funny friend. Now, on the exterior, funny people, funny friends can be very outgoing and they can seem very silly and just seem sort of happy all the time. Here's the thing, nobody is happy on accident. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say you grow up totally normal and that's what creates a funny person. Like, no, like that guy was bullied or he had a difficult period in his life. And funny was like a survivor thing, you know, it's a survival thing. He became funny because of him. They became funny because of their circumstances, sort of thing. Bo Burnham has one of these beautiful lines in his specials where he's talking about performing and he talks about how he's trying to give other people what he cannot give himself. And I remember just hearing that. I think it really resonated with me. And an example from pulp culture that sort of comes to mind is like Robin Williams. When I first heard about that, uh, it really shook me. I think it's like, yo, the genie from Aladdin, like Patch Adams, Good Will Hunting, like that guy left. You know what I mean? Like, um, that sort of shook me. And I guess that's just a prime example of like how people appear on the outside does not mean doesn't really reflect their interior world, you know. And so it's a bad assumption to assume that just because someone is outwardly funny, sort of thing, means that they're mentally all right and that they're always happy. Like, no, that guy is actually a broken individual. I've been yapping so long that it's sort of gotten dark. So good thing I brought a flashlight. Ah, wow, is that better? Put this down here. The rest of this, the rest of this will be spoken like we're at a campfire, I guess. All right, that's not bad. Okay, where was I? Number two, not being taken seriously. Again, with sort of being outwardly silly, I think a lot of times people view their funny friend and they don't really take them seriously, even if it is a subject that that person is a little bit sensitive about or cares about. And it doesn't help that the funny friend oftentimes has like a good sense of humor, obviously, and they're willing to make light of themselves. So that can sort of add to it where they're so dismissive of themselves that they sort of like let things roll off. But there are a lot of times where I think people can be dismissive of the funny friend, and I don't think people should sort of view you as like less intelligent just because you're trying to make other people laugh, you know? Whether your views on different subjects sort of matter less. But there'll be times where you have a legitimate point, but people think that you're making a joke or they aren't taking you seriously. And that can really suck. It can be a really like bitter feeling. Number three, pressure to perform. Sexual. Humor is a great way to connect with people, you know? But sort of, who are you when the laughter stops? And I know that sounds very corny. I'm pretty sure it's like an exact line from Friends, the one where like Phoebe's dating a therapist and he sort of like psychoanalyzes everybody, and like Chandler. But who are you like when the laughter ends? If you've pigeonholed yourself as sort of the funny friend, there can be this sort of quiet expectation for you to always like be on and like always be funny. Dang, it's starting to really get dark. I'm in the woods alone. I'm scared. But people are not one dimensional, and if you only ever stay at that surface level, sort of making jokes and never letting yourself have a deeper conversation when you're honest, then you can never really build trust with other people. If there's ever a time when you're not in a good mood and you feel like there's this expectation for you to be funny and you feel like you're not being taken like seriously, then that can be a very isolating feeling. Especially because humor is a very good way of deflecting yourself, you know, and never letting yourself get too deep in a conversation. But the end result of that is that you never sort of end up with a deep relationship with other people. You always keep things surface level, and then it can make your friendships and relationships with others just seem very superficial. It is getting darker and darker, and I'm beginning to feel like I'm in a Blair Witch video game. Number four, you don't always say the right thing. humor is not always like a safe thing, you know? It's not meant to be. It's meant to push boundaries, you know? Like a lot of times things are funny because they're not things you would normally say, right? Obviously. And hopefully you're able to sort of make friends with people who match your sense of humor, but like regardless of that or not, there'll be times when you're trying to make a joke and you go too far, and I feel like that's like a risk that people don't appreciate when you're just trying to be funny and it lands flat and the room goes silent. Like that'll keep you up at night for sure. Like it's awful. As I sort of grow up more and meet more people, it feels like I increasingly meet people who uh, don't match my sense of humor, and that's like totally fair because I grew up on like early internet and like Filthy Frank. You know what I mean? Like that can, you know, everybody's different, and my humor can be very uh, like edgy and like almost like off-putting to the wrong person. You know? I think when I was younger and I had these disconnects with people and I thought what I said was funny and they didn't think it was funny or they thought it was offensive, I would have this disconnect and I would almost be like offended. Like, how dare you think that I'm not being hilarious right now? But everyone's got different sensibilities, and especially when it comes to making fun of your friends, which I think if you're true friends with somebody, you should be able to sort of like rag on them and banter back and forth. But when it comes to different people's sensibilities, sometimes they'll just harp on an insecurity that maybe you didn't know that was an insecurity. Like you made fun of their arm hair and like something like that. And those times can then definitely like really sting and just create friction between you and the other person, which is never fun. Number 5, people think you're flirting. This is sort of a smaller one, but a lot of times, if you're just making jokes with like the opposite sex or whatever, uh, people can view it as flirting, which I understand because you know humor is like a great way like to flirt. But sometimes you just want to have a good time and just joke around, and that can be misunderstood, and that can really suck. I think, in my experience, I've just seen it the most with people who didn't really grow up around the opposite sex. Like, maybe even if they went to school, they didn't really have like female or male friends, and they sort of view the opposite sex as like this strange entity. But sometimes you just want to like joke around and you know feel free, and the other party can think that you're flirting, or even a third party can think that you're flirting, and it sucks to have your intentions misunderstood like that. You ever know somebody who gets just really jealous when their partner interacts with the opposite sex? Then yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm starting to veer into the conversation of like male female friendships, which I think a lot of different people have sort of different views on, and um, I mean, fair enough. You know, if that's a really hard value for you, then hopefully you can get with someone who shares that same value. But in my case, I think males and females can totally be friends. And there's just one case, or there's just one rule, and it's that you have to find the other person unattractive, which is why all of my female friends are butt ugly. Truth be told, I don't really see myself as the funny friend anymore. And I think there's a part of me which almost thinks that like, I'm not as funny anymore. You know, my jokes um, don't land the same. But on the other hand, I think what I've gained sort of outweighs what I've lost by opening up to people and being vulnerable and you know letting your defensive down and is that a train and just talking to other people more about my feelings. It sort of opened up like a whole new world to me. And one benefit to you know not always being on and trying to be the funny friend is that you leave space in the conversation for other people more. You know, you don't have to be as like loud and enigmatic because maybe the more like introverted people in your friends like in your friends group like they get the chance to sort of chime in more and like be more comfortable and like be their true selves, and so you get the chance to see them as funny and you become a better listener and you deepen your friendship. Like uh, I think that's definitely worth it. To end this video off, if you're friends with just a buffoon, like an absolute jester, you know, do me a favor and reach out to them. One of my best friends, a moment that I always remember was I was really going through it, and they could tell, and they sort of just showed up to my door with like this bag of baked goods, and it's been years and years since then, but I literally always think about it. Not always. Well, I think about it a lot, you know, and I think it just like meant like that much to me. Shout out to you if you're watching this, you know who you are. But just having somebody say, I see you, I appreciate you, I'm here if you need me, that can really, really just change somebody's life. So reach out to that person, and uh, you can always be that person for them. Now, it's a different thing whether or not they want to open up to you or not. That's up to them. I would never say, like, never push somebody to open up, you know, it's never like a smart decision. It might backfire on you. But yeah, just letting them know that you're there, I think that can really change their world. To the funny friends out there, I salute you. Thank you for your service. Just know that you don't always have to be on, you know. I think sometimes we hold on to these limiting beliefs that don't really serve us anymore, and if that's the case, we should just let them go. Even if that's been the way it's been for a long time. Like if you've pigeonholed yourself into this identity of I'm the funny friend, you know, you don't have to be. You can just sort of let that go. You can also be the sensitive friend. You can be the friend who's great at listening. You can be the friend who is not afraid to be the first one to open up and deepen your relationship with others. And I think that's equally as valuable. But whatever you choose to do, be kind to yourself. It sucks. I know. Oh shit. That's good. That was a good one.